Share an excitement or fear of unexpressed thoughts, a desire to connect, or eagerness for control. There are several reasons why people can talk too much. It often arises from social anxiety in a way that it creates a troubling feedback loop. To expand on that, the more people talk, the more anxious they become about their social selves, so the more they talk. At this point, it becomes an uncontrollable habit. You see, habits are actions that are triggered by cues, like time, activity, or a location. They culminate through repetition. Then the brain firmly fuses the connections between cue and reward, and that occasionally gives birth to compulsive disorders. A bad habit creates problems because it reinforces itself and discourages self-awareness, and in this case it becomes compulsive talking, hence a mental health disorder. The general symptoms are usually failing to see they talk exceedingly, tend toward argumentativeness, have a habit of taking over conversations, care little about criticism or remarks from others. Now on to the people who couldn't outrun their own words in a marathon. This kind simply talks too much because they are egotistical. They push their feelings by talking them out with absolute no regard to the boundaries of the listener. This type is referred to as idiosyncratic talking, which does not have the same urgency as compulsive talking. A rather eccentric personality trait has a characteristic of autism or other neurodivergence. Many of us talk a lot from time to time. It is okay to be chatty, but some people talk too much. This can be incredibly irritating. We don't want to shut down the enthusiasm of people, but we want to balance things. If we're not being heard or the other person doesn't realize we're frustrated, we should reconsider whether the conversation is worth the trouble. Some people do not enjoy conversing with others and consider a few sentences too much. Sometimes people might say you talk too much when they simply dislike what you have to say. So to be fair and unbiased, let's listen to the researchers who outlined a few key signs for this case. Talking a lot, more often than anyone else in most situations. Struggling to talk less, even while working or at quiet times. You only recognize that you talk a lot when others tell you so. Reluctance to stay quiet, even when it poses problems for you. Many people may feel an anxious need to fill the silence with words. But when that need becomes a compulsion, you should establish common ground first. And for that, you need to master the art of small talk. But don't worry, you can ask any dwarf for advice. Here are some pointers that may help you keep the balance. Be curious and ask questions instead of filling the void with your personal matters. Listen instead of thinking about what you want to say next. Always avoid interrupting when someone else speaks. Don't immediately restart a conversation when it pauses. Hands down, you should be quiet in these situations. When you need to listen. When people are gossiping. When you want to complain. When you are in pharmacies. You don't want to wake the sleeping pills. When you're angry. We all worry about coming across as boring. But communication is a two-way street, and silence isn't a bad thing. Besides, you don't want people to lecture you using the Plato quote. A wise man speaks because he has something to say. A fool speaks because he has to say something. Now let's dive into the good stuff. A lot of things are assumed about people who don't talk much. Could be struggling to express themselves. Sometimes they want to chat and don't know how. Maybe they are afraid of being misinterpreted or misunderstood, if not suffering from debilitating shyness. So they decide to keep quiet. They often complain when people assume things about them. It's delusional to expect people to read you when you are a closed book, although I feel ya. It's annoying to be perpetually reminded that you are so quiet. If you are an introvert, just be clear about the fact that you want to be left alone. Not all introverts are socially awkward. Many of them avoid socializing because it drains them. They are plainly not programmed to keep up conversing unceasingly. They need to recharge after socializing, and that's natural. In addition, there's a category of quiet people who love to appear mysterious and attract attention in a twisted, aloof kind of way. Borderline personality disorder can also cause people to be tight-lipped. BPD is a mental health condition that causes intense emotions and impulsive behavior. Only that the symptoms aren't directed outwards, but rather into the interior. People with this diagnostic struggle with relationships, as well as their self-image. The symptoms may include having unhealthy boundaries, becoming obsessed with a specific person. Self-protection comes in the form of self-isolation or avoidance, secret self-harm, or harmful to others in secret, feeling hopeless all the time, inwardly directed hostility, anger or aggression, having a poor image or a rapidly changing one. It is generally observed that those who chit-chat less think better. Some universal facts about introverts indicate that they are more creative, seeing that solitude can be a catalyst to innovation. Statistics also show that 70% of gifted people are introverts. Extroverts can be physically intelligent? I don't know. I found that when someone asks that, the best answer is a short, simple one. Something like, I'm not in the mood to talk, or I just don't have anything to say at the moment is enough. You don't want to come up with an answer that makes you needy and defensive. Just play it cool. If the people surrounding you kept complaining about you being too quiet, you can say, just a piece of advice for the wives out there, don't punish your husband using the silent treatment. Trust me, they are only enjoying it. We humans have the ability to use words and converse, and a mouth designed to be closed and opened at will. You probably don't need to worry about how much you talk, if others seem to enjoy your conversations. But when it seems as if people actively avoid having conversations with you, you might want to make an effort to shout less and listen more. And to all the quiet storms out there, try developing your communication skills and be more mindful of others. If you think you are introverted, wait until you never meet me. A research had been done on me once. It revealed absolutely nothing. I almost starved to death, just because there were some people in my kitchen. If you want to make me happy, just cancel. If you want to spot me in a crowd, please don't. I love quiet so much I could play tennis without the racket. I bought a new perfume the other day. It was labeled